So we're recording. Good morning, everyone. I am going to introduce Miranda. She is one of our dear friends and partners down in the Beaufort, South Carolina market. She is an agent recently, right, too, um,
Yes,
which is awesome. And then
trying.
also TCing over at the down at the Greco Group in Beaufort, South Carolina, depending on where you are. And the purpose of these Wednesdays are literally just to get brains together in the same space for 35, 45 minutes and just be sure best practices are shared. And so Miranda is graciously going to open her TC playbook for all of us to be able to see what they do. And so feel free as always to jump in, ask questions. That's what this time's for. So please don't feel like you've got to sit in silence and just absorb. Just ask the questions. I'll be monitoring the chat. I know she's got a great presentation lined up for us, so we'll get rolling. Thank you, Miranda.
Of course, I'm gonna check one more time and see who all is on. Okay. My name is Miranda Croa. I have been the transaction coordinator for the Greco Group for 2 years last month. And so I do want to say that in the past 2 years, this system has evolved. We started off, I want to say we had maybe 9 agents when I first started, and now we have close to 20. So we've definitely had to make some changes, and it's constantly evolving. So um, I'm just going to show you my system, but one system doesn't work for everybody. So I know someone said that they don't even have a transaction coordinator. Some of you are probably individual agents. Some of you are a team that are just hiring one and have never had one before. So this is ChatGPT's definition of a transaction coordinator. The definition from contract to close specifically. A transaction coordinator in a real estate group is typically responsible for managing the administrative tasks and paperwork involved in the process of buying or selling a property. This may include tasks such as coordinating inspections, communicating with various parties, buyers, sellers, agents, lenders, and attorneys, ensuring all necessary documents are completed and submitted on time, and facilitating a smooth transaction from contract to close. Essentially, they help streamline the transaction process and ensure all parties are informed and organized. So I definitely do all of that. Let me see if it lets me go to the next. But my definition on our team specifically is managing the realtors on our team's contracts by communicating with both agents involved, the client, the lenders, attorneys, inspectors, vendors, and anybody outside vendors. I oversee the calendar, compliance, commission, our virtual assistant, and the entire transaction from contract to close. And then I handle situations to avoid time-seeking tasks from agents, and I ensure the client is receiving the best customer service experience with the highest and best communication. So our team leader and director of operations, those last two is like really the point of my position. Yes, I do a lot of the paperwork. Yes, I'm administrative, but I like to try to save time from the agents so that they can focus on more clients and their transactions and not have to waste time on something that I could fix for them, and making sure that the client is getting enough attention if the agent is busy with somebody else. Okay, so these are like the softwares that I use. Um, G Suite, it's not just Gmail, Google Drive where we store contact lists, my email templates, and all of that. But I really push the Google Calendar, and I will go into that a little bit deeper later. But CTE is our real estate tracker. For the agents, they can track their commission and we track like all of our numbers there, but I use it for my checklist, which I'll show you that later as well. SkySlope, if you're already an EXP agent, you can use that for DigiSign, like DocuSign and Zip forms. And it's our whole suite where we track the whole transaction commission. And then Boomtown, we use Boomtown as our CRM, but as the transaction coordinator, I use it to keep the client's contact information and any notes on the clients in there. And then I'm sure you've heard us all talk about the 6 types of working genius, but I use that as the transaction coordinator so that I know what personality type I'm working with our agents. So some agents really like to read my notes and they'll keep everything in Slack. Some agents I have to call. It just helps me with their personality type and knowing, okay, this person is better at working with me like this. And then ChatGPT, I mainly just use that if there's an issue or I just need help with wording on what to say to a client or another agent or something like that. Okay, so on top of all of that, from the very beginning, our system starts when the agent emails our virtual assistant, Janelyn, and I the contract. So I'm pushing how important this is because like when I was deciding what all I'm going to talk about, I was like, what I find takes time away from Janelyn and I is if from the very beginning the system isn't used and agents don't send us the template with the client contact information, the attorney contact information, the lead source, pre-approval with the lender contact, we end up tracking things down and waiting to hear back. And so from the very beginning, we have this template at the top here with the client name, attorney choice, lead source, if it's a referral, getting those agreements and the pre-approval. And then we use Slack for all of our communication per contract. But I also have this template that if this is skipped, this is more for me so that I can remember, okay, 123 Main Street, the seller's email, this is their attorney. I can just pull up that Slack channel, but the agents do use that too. And I find that sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I had 15 contracts in one day. I don't have time to update the Slack channel. That's least important. And then I won't put it in there. And not having that template in there is huge. So the templates are a huge part of our system. And on top of these templates, there's contact lists templates, there's emails to the attorneys, there's exactly what we say to the agents. And I have saved what we, or the clients too. I have what we say to the clients if it's a cash transaction, what we say if it's land, what we say if there's a lender, if it's as is, we have all different kinds of templates saved. Okay, so this is the checklist that I use in CTE. And I made up some examples to show you so that you didn't see all 55 of our pending transactions, but you can change here. Let's say that there's a closing within 2 weeks. You can change the due dates for these items. And the screen did cut off. This goes all the way to closing in MLS and uploading the documents to SkySlope. But on day 1, we send the intro email to everyone, the clients, the lender, the other agent, the attorney email, and then schedule the inspection. And I just note here who the attorney is, who the lender is. I did an example for buyer and seller. Even if we have the seller, I still typically put who the lender is. And then I just check when earnest money is received. My virtual assistant does do all of the calendar invites, such as when the earnest money is due, due diligence period ending, home inspection. And we actually put like 5 days prior to closing on this contract. So we remember check in with attorney 5 days in advance. Like we put so much more on the Google Calendar, reminders of everything, reminders to schedule the CL 100, even if we have a 60-day closing and you can only schedule it within that 30-day window. Is the repair addendum done? I just left one red so that you guys can see if you have 55 transactions and you have a bunch of red, you can see, oh my gosh, I need to follow up on that repair addendum. Those documents haven't been uploaded yet. We send the utility email to the buyers. Here are the utility providers for the area. Don't forget to turn these on prior to close or on the day of closing. And then to the sellers, don't forget to turn them off. Scheduling the walkthrough, confirming that closing is scheduled and letting all parties know, making sure the keys are transferred and you get the closing statement. And then this is the flow chart. This is just the buyer side, but we have a separate flow chart for the selling side as well. I'm not going to go through each part, but just so you can see, we have it color coded for what the agent does, what the transaction coordinator does, what the virtual assistant does, and then what the listing coordinator does. So we do have a virtual assistant. Like I said, she does the Google Calendar invite. She actually starts the transaction in SkySlope for us. She can do referral agreements, get those typed up for us to send out. So she does a lot of the back end stuff to help save all of us time. I'll pause it there for a second just so you guys can see. This is more used for training too. I used this a lot in the beginning. And then this is an example of my Google Calendar. So my virtual assistant's Google Calendar has the 5 days prior to closing, send the attorney email. 3 days prior to closing, send the other side this email. When to follow up on title work, appraisals, stuff like that. But for me, I typically have when inspections are, when due diligence ends, when closings are. And then I have office hours. Office hours are a way that I organize my schedule. So in the beginning, we found that I would be in the middle of typing up a repair addendum and I would send it out, and then somebody would call me and ask me about something else. And I would forget to follow up and make sure that somebody signed that addendum. Or I would be in the middle of doing something for someone else and I would forget to come back to it because I answered another agent's call during that task. So now I do office hours. If there's urgent items that you need from me, you can hop on. I do 3 different hours a week. And then of course, if it's urgent, agents can call me anytime, but that's how I catch up on office hours with agents on their transactions. And then I have to put on the schedule when to audit things, auditing CTE, auditing SkySlope, even auditing the Google Calendar because Janelyn, the VA, does that. Support staff meetings and stuff like that. Pending compliance emails. The next slide is going to be the pending compliance list. So in SkySlope, there's a checklist that will tell you what all you still need or what's missing and what's due. But you don't always have everything fully signed. You don't always have the CL 100 right away. You don't always get the entity documents. So the virtual assistant creates this for me. And yes, you can log in and the agents get emails of these as well. But on Tuesdays and Fridays, this is saved in the Google Drive. Janelyn does this. And on Tuesdays and Fridays, I will copy and email each agent and say, hey, this is where we're at. We've been trying to get this. We really need your help. We have to get this ASAP. So here, yeah, this is just the pending compliance tracker in Google Drive we created on top of what it says in SkySlope. And then we just detail it. We've already sent this to clients. Does someone have a question? So we just know we've already tried to get this or haven't sent this yet. Can you do that? Waiting to get information, stuff like that. And then I wanted to talk about, Ashley and I talked about this in the beginning. Our team, we have a listing coordinator who does the listing to contract. We have the director of operations. We have myself, who's contract to close. We have the virtual assistant that kind of helps all of us, but does a lot of the back end. We have an executive assistant who does social media and some of the running, lock boxes and signs. We have a project coordinator, and one of the agents on our team has their own assistant. So every team can look different. You can have an outside transaction coordinator who works for a different company that just helps you with like main tasks, making sure you get the earnest money, making sure that the attorney has the contract. You might have an assistant that does everything from listing to close. You might have just a virtual assistant who does your back end stuff and you still do the front end. So I just wanted to reiterate that this can look different on every team. This is just how our team does it. And like I said in the beginning, if you weren't on, we started 2 years ago with 9 agents on the team, and now we have 19 and counting. So this has definitely evolved. Positives of having a strict system, using the templates, making sure it's uniform every time, is the response and timeliness of certain attorneys, lenders, and inspectors. I have been told by lenders and attorneys that they really appreciate our emails, our check-ins on the title work, because sometimes they'll forget to update us with the appraisals and stuff like that. You're less likely for anything to slip through the cracks, and you're more likely to meet those deadlines. And another example is there's an inspector in town that gave me a personal link to schedule inspections with him because I was texting and calling him to schedule so often. Another positive is being able to go on maternity leave and knowing that the next person can take over with a smooth transaction due to our high communication. Laws in our system, typically we're evolving due to we realize there's lack of communication for some reason, or someone just not following the system. For example, from the very get-go, not receiving that email template, me not putting something in Slack or on the calendar. I think that's all. Does anybody have any questions?
I have lots of questions.
I have lots of questions too, Stephanie Cox.
So Miranda, I was wondering, my office address is 507 Monson. If you could just come over, that would be easier.
I would love to help.
Yeah. No, hey, I have a question. The checklist that you were showing that you are operating at a CTE with, right?
Yes.
So how much of that do you do versus the agents do? Like when you're talking about like, I know it's a checklist, but like how much of that are you responsible for? Or how much, and like, what do you do? Like your agents, how do you empower them to let you do your job? That's what I'm struggling with is like me personally, it's like, nope, trust the process, you know?
Yeah. So everything on this checklist I do. The only thing I might not do is I don't negotiate repairs. I send over the inspection report to the client and the agent negotiates, and then they tell me what to type up, and then I will send that to the other side. But everything on this list I will do. Now, I will say when we get a new agent on our team who is a seasoned agent already, they are less likely to let us take control. It just takes time. When they see how much time we save them and how many more transactions they can get because of the leverage, it just comes with time.
Thank you.
I hope that helped.
I have a question.
Cool.
Yeah.
What is the, hi, what's the process, for instance, for like inspection scheduled? Do the agents maintain those relationships with the inspector and just say, hey, the client has chosen Battery Creek, and then you go ahead and do it? Like what is the handoff for that kind of stuff?
Every agent's different. I have one agent on the team that has like her top 2 preferences on inspectors that she'll recommend before they even go under contract. But a part of my email template to the client is, hey, here are 5 inspector options. Let me know who you'd like to schedule. So typically I do all of that, and I put in Slack, this is who they chose, this is when, I confirmed with the listing agent, it's on the calendar, and then the agent will attend. But yeah, typically I do that too, unless there's an agent that has a preference and wants to do that.
Hey, can you talk to me about Google Calendar? I'm pretty I'm pretty tech savvy, and I feel like we all still struggle with this calendar situation. It's something I actually have on my board to solve. So we created a Google Calendar, and then not everyone has branded email, which I know your team doesn't either. So I feel like there's a solution here. Can you just can someone on your team walk me through the setup of how that gets to be compatible with everyone on your team? I know I sound like an idiot sandwich. I can build very, very complex automations, but I cannot figure out Google Calendar to save my life.
Yeah, so you're asking for like team events more.
Yeah, we want to have like this today. We have 3 things that got added to the calendar that our team could attend. And like every time I'm like dropping it in Slack, and like I just feel like it'd be very good to be like reference the team calendar for a new edition, but we can't get everyone onboarded onto the calendar. It like we have one, it's just we can't get all the agents on it. I know it sounds like a dumb question, but I don't
Yeah,
understand.
so Kristen might chime in here because she did just create recently. We did actually start doing team emails. But everybody can be added to one Google Calendar, even if they don't have Gmail.
Yeah, so what we did is, we were adding just events. So I have like 2 things here. We were adding just events to the calendar. So like I would add it to my calendar and then invite every single person on the team. And it got crazy because it's like, okay, you can, attend 3 things, but it's maybe they're only attending 1, and like why is it on their calendar then? So with that being said, we created, if here, Miranda, do you want to share your
Yeah, because
calendar?
I didn't put, this is totally just a made up example, but I
So
did
on the
not.
left hand side where like she has TC presentation calendar clicked, like there's a team calendar for the Greco group that she can click and unclick. So we just send that link to everyone that onboards and they have to accept it. And so we basically don't give them an option of like it was very hard because we we want to help our agents so much, but at the end of the day, like they are responsible for looking at the systems that we've created. And so I'm not going to send them the link unless obviously like someone's driving and needs a link, right? But if they're like, hey, where's the link for this meeting? It's on the calendar. And so we just make sure that we reinforce that of it's on the calendar, use your Google Calendar, because at the end of the day, that's going to only help them for looking at team stuff, but also for looking at all the things that Miranda puts on there so that they remember, oh, my inspection is here. So like Allison I don't want to say doesn't use Google Calendar, but she is big in her written calendar. So she'll take what's on the Google calendars and then put it in her stuff. So there are probably like 2 more agents that do that, but we point them back to the Google Calendar and it's something that they can unclick and click. So people like Amanda who really use Google Calendar for time blocking, she can click and see where something of the team's offering in her free hour. Does that help?
It does. And I think what I'm looking at that is our downfall is we've got the Anna Powell real estate calendar, and then we have our team calendar. And I think probably some of the problem is we've got I might just have seriously like the wrong links. Again, very tech savvy, but we've really been struggling with this recently because we keep having to send in Slack, like, oh guys, come to this on, Wednesday at 12:30, and then it gets buried because we just don't have a place. I did see too, for those of you that are on the call that have teams, call team, I noticed it yesterday, so I actually emailed Daria last night, but they literally have, oh, Ashley, you're on the call, like they got printed calendars. I saw it on someone's story yesterday and I was like, this is awesome. So they had like a monthly printed calendar that was given out at their meeting, and I've never loved anything more.
I will just say too, I feel like a lot of people find the Google Calendar overwhelming because they do have all of their inspections on there, closing dates, their own schedule that they're trying to create, plus the team. So just that reminder that you can click when you're looking for things, you can click just the team calendar. You can click just your tasks. You can click your under contract tasks. You can break it down like that.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
So I have a question. This is
Yes.
Carrie. So I'm just starting out, like I have a question about like how do you get into it? Because I'm a EXP agent, but this is more of my forte and my experience, work experience, and something I'd like to do. So I don't really, but I don't know how to get started in transaction processing.
Are you just getting started as an agent?
I just joined a couple months ago, EXP, but I really
Okay.
wanted to get into the being a transaction coordinator.
Okay.
So what would you recommend?
You want to be a transaction coordinator for someone else? Sorry, I'm trying to just trying to make sure I answer it correctly.
Well, yes, for a group of agents, any agent.
Ashley, Anna, does anybody have a suggestion for that?
Yeah, where are you located, Carrie?
So actually I'm in the Fuquay-Varina, North Carolina area.
Oh, that's where I am. I'm sitting right here in Fuquay. So, and you're an EXP agent already?
Yes.
Who's your sponsor at EXP?
So I am a referral agent.
Oh, okay.
So, but I started with Keith. Oh, I can't think of his last name.
Bonham?
Bonham, yes.
Great. Yeah. So you're part of our Access family. I think one of the things to do is always tap into those local, your local pockets, especially within EXP. So ours here under Tina Call is all Access, and getting into those groups and finding agents that might have a need for one-off transaction coordination or sending resumes out to teams that are looking to grow and expand. I think that's a great way to do it. I think just plugging in and networking. I know we used to have this actual event right now that we're on. We used to have this in our office, and we would have TCs pop in all the time because they just wanted some opportunity to network with agents and just kind of let them know who they were and how they worked and all those things. So I think it's pretty much I think it's just like anything else, just really networking, getting to know agents, being in rooms with agents, and kind of finding those agents that are in growth mode that are looking for partnerships like this.
Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, Miranda, I have one more question.
Yes.
Okay, and Anna, you might be able to pipe in on this too. So here's what I struggle with. It is, I guess, like, maybe we're trying to do it too different. So correct me if I'm wrong. When you go under contract, your agent sends you that initial email with the stuff. And then basically that agent doesn't do anything else, is kind of what I'm saying. Like, our agents are like, they're scheduling the CL 100, they're scheduling the home inspection, they're doing this, they're doing that. And then, so I guess it's just too much back and forth that we're doing right now that creates that confusion, it seems like. And you're over here like, you just do it all, I guess. Like,
Yeah. One thing I will say is we try to stay in a group text or a group email and keep everything in one chain. So if the agent is doing something, I can see that, or I ask them to put it in Slack if they've communicated with them, just so I can know, okay, they've already done this. I don't need to do that. But yeah, Kristen might be able to pop into. They definitely still attend things, but they aren't responsible for scheduling anything,
Yeah, I would
or
say,
typing up anything.
yeah, I would agree with you, Miranda. It's basically they are there attending things and they are negotiating. So even though Miranda now has her license, she is not their agent. She does not have the buyer agency with them. Technically, it's under the brokerage, but she is not their agent. So the agent is always responsible for negotiating. The agent is always responsible for attending items. But other than that, yeah, I will say our transaction coordinators from the start of our team have always done a bit more than normal transaction coordinators, but I think we're just setting a standard of, hey, we're on a team and you go get more contracts, because they're not supposed to be behind the computer worrying about scheduling an inspection. Like, that takes what, Miranda, 5 minutes for you to coordinate. So it really, and it drives conversation back to Miranda from the client, so that the client isn't calling the agent when is that inspection? No, they're going to email Miranda and say, hey, when was that inspection? Oh, I was just about to send you a reminder. It's tomorrow at 5, so that's definitely you're hitting on the nail with that question.
How do you, this might sound blunt, how do you make your agents do this? Like, how do you, if they don't do it, is there penalization? Is there like, I know you want to empower them, but how do you guys personally hold them responsible? Like, are you calling them out if they don't do it? You're like, hey, it's been 3 days and I haven't received this. Like, how do you handle that?
What's your biggest problem? People aren't trusting the transaction coordinator, or they're not starting a system. Like,
So it's new for us, right? So we're all agents. Like, we just came on with the TC, and our TC is very involved and is like on the ball with things, but it's like, oh, well, I already talked to them about that. I forgot to tell you, here's when it really is. You know what I mean? So I guess
I
just time is the biggest thing, I
I
guess.
think that's always just process, though. I think it appears sometimes as agents micromanaging their transactions or not trusting TCs, but I think it always comes down to it's just following process, and there's gonna be a timeline of adapting and norming that for your team. So I think it's just always going back to the process. We struggle with it when we put something new into place as well.
yeah, and I do call them out. So there's been a couple agents on the team that have been agents before that will do their own stuff. And I'm like, don't forget, I do that for you. And like, after reminding them, don't forget, I'm supposed to do that for you. Like the third time, eventually they're like, oh, well, they also get so busy. They're like, I don't even have time to do that anymore. So she's handling it.
Yeah, I would second that. A lot of times what'll happen is I'll see, that it goes under contract through Slack, and automatically I'm reminding that agent, don't forget to CC me on that email when the contract is getting, you know what I'm saying, forwarded over. Don't forget to CC me on the attorney with the attorney and the lender. You know what I'm saying? Because from that point, then I will be on all the other emails. And that is really what helps me follow the transaction and know, all the paperwork that, like if the attorney sends an email and says, we need this addendum or we need this updated on the contract and blah, 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 blah. I see it, and then I'm able to go ahead and take care of that for the agent. But it's literally like, honestly, as Anna's transaction coordinator, it really is just them just really having to almost constantly just remind them and stay on top of them. And some agents are going to be better about it than others. Some agents just, like you said, Miranda, they're just in their ways and they have their processes, so I mean, that's really reiterating to them that I need to be on all those emails is what helps me the most.
So if there's compliance issues, Miranda, y'all just go in and correct them. How do you communicate that to the agent? You just send it in Slack and say, hey, changed blah, blah, blah.
Compliance is one of our biggest struggles, honestly. We try to tell them right away, okay, hey, you sent us this document, it's missing this initial, or you didn't send us this signed from the other side. We try to tell them right away, but then it turns into tracking it down. And so, yeah, we typically just try to get the initials ourselves and communicate with everyone, including the agents in the email. Hey, this was missing. We're going to get this, or asking the other agent for it ourselves. Because I will say too, the compliance emails that come from SkySlope, they are a little bit delayed. But also I think you get so many emails from SkySlope and EXP, sometimes the agents don't even open that. So it just turns into a long list of things pending, which it does regardless. So it's easiest for us to, I mean, we've debated being like, hey, I'm not starting on this contract until you get all of this compliance corrected, but we haven't done that yet.
So much learning.
Yeah, and like I said, we're constantly evolving, but compliance is a hard one. Especially with EXP, but it's a good thing.
So Miranda, so I handle all of our SkySlope from the very beginning, like starting the transaction in SkySlope and then, entering everything in. So on that note that you just said, one thing that I have started doing that I feel like has helped me with it is kind of along the lines of what you just said. Once we have a, transaction, all of our paperwork for that transaction is going to be in Dotloop. So I have started going through Dotloop and getting all of the paperwork correct before I start the transaction in SkySlope. And I feel like it has cut down tremendously on my time that I'm spending in SkySlope, because I know it's all right from the beginning, and I'm not getting those emails constantly and having to go back, and I mean, obviously you have to go back and check, right? They're always going to kick stuff back, but it's just a lot less that's getting kicked back from the very beginning. And I've noticed that having it all right to begin with, they're reviewing and approving the file a lot quicker.
It's a really good idea. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
good.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful because depending on how many contracts we have come through at a time, I do have the virtual assistant start the transaction in SkySlope, and it takes forever if we don't have everything.
Yes,
So yeah, that's a really good idea to
yeah, that's what
correct
I
it.
was running into as well. I mean, I was spending all of my time. So yes, I hope that helps. Try that out, because I mean, it makes it so that I can literally get that file uploaded into SkySlope in like 10 minutes, 5 minutes for each one. It's
Okay,
awesome.
I have a question about that though. So if there's something that needs, like, let's say the LLR code or a license number, do you get clients' initials on that? Or if that's missing, you just put it in Dotloop and
So
then,
when they kick back and it just says that you're missing the firm license number, I just add that and I don't get initials, and they're perfectly fine with that. The only thing that you'll that I'm seeing that's getting kicked back is if we have to do a strike through, for if we're adding a name to a contract, or we're taking a name off the contract, or we're changing the whether it's dual agency or designated dual based on the contract, anything like that, I have to go in and I definitely send for initials. But if I'm just adding the firm license number and stuff, no. You can
what about, because this has been happening a lot lately and we'll probably have to correct this, but what about if the buyer doesn't have their attorney choice yet and the contract says TBD?
TBD. So I've been running into that issue as well. And you do have to cross that out, add
Yeah,
the
initials.
attorney's name, and have everyone initial. And it's super annoying because I feel you on this. A lot of the contracts are coming through with TBD. And I'm like, we can't do that. They will
Right.
kick it back every time. Yeah.
Hey
Right.
guys, can I challenge you guys on that one? So some of what we've been doing is if we're missing certain things in the contract, instead of marking up a contract 100 million times and having initials and then they didn't date them and it's a problem, you can just write a separate addendum that says per section 2, paragraph 3 of the contract, closing date shall now be known as blah, blah, blah. And then just send
Ooh.
over that addendum and attach it as an addendum because it's cleaner. And then people don't question it as much. And then there's less.
I love that. Thank you. What is that? What is it? Just an addendum to the contract?
Yeah, for the buyer's attorney, or if you're adding a name to the contract, don't go through and add it in every section. Just say all parties agree an additional buyer for all contract related documents shall be known as blah, blah, blah.
I like that.
Yeah, buyer's attorney, it's per page 1, paragraph 2, buyer's attorney shall now be known as blah, blah, blah. Or a lender change, we don't actually edit the contract, we just write an addendum, so it's cleaner.
And compliance will accept that.
Yeah, they love
Yes.
it.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense because it
Oh,
gets
yeah.
so messy with so many.
You
Mhm.
just made my day on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I am gonna hop off and head to our team meeting, but I did put my email on that last slide. And I think it's in the emails too for today's link, but let me know if you guys need anything else. If I can
Hey,
help.
Miranda, I want to tell you real quick before you pop off, when you do those attached addendums, like in the Sky Slope compliance thing where it says like need buyer's attorney, you just write a comment back that says see attached addendum, and then they'll find that other addendum that references it, and then they'll green it.
Awesome. Thank you. That is gonna
Thank
help
you.
us. Thank you, guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.